Hi everyone. Every day people do a lot of routine stuff. They take a shower, brush their teeth, have breakfast, wash their clothes. There's nothing exciting about all of this, unless these everyday things are done in unusual circumstances, when even sleeping might turn into a dangerous adventure. You don't believe us? Well, these stories might change your mind. Let's get it on. Washing at low temperatures. Imagine it's freezing cold outside. Very, very cold. So cold that it even hurts to breathe. And this isn't a scene from a film about the ice apocalypse. Our planet does have places with such extreme conditions, and some people actually live in this terribly cold environment. Of course, scientific progress has made everything much easier and more convenient, but not everyone has access to the benefits of progress. The peoples of the far north never practice body washing. Instead, they use the so-called cleansing procedure, and in some places it's still practiced up to this day, and that's understandable. It's simply impossible to wash yourself when it's terribly cold throughout the entire year, including summer. Fortunately, the ancestors' wisdom comes to the rescue. Residents of the camp gather around a fire in a yaranga or a chum, the so-called portable tent houses of the peoples of the far north. There they put on all the clothes that they have, sit down closer to the fire and start sweating. And it's better not to think about the smell. After warming up, people undress and begin to scrape the dirt off each other with bone scrapers. After this peculiar procedure, they grease themselves with seal fat, which remains on the body until the next time. As scientists found out, this is the best way to wash yourself when you live in the harsh Arctic tundra all year round. However, sometimes the peoples of the far north simply wore leather clothes with pile, which constantly rubbed against the skin and removed the dirt from it. Sleeping on a cliff. Climbing mountains is a really challenging task that requires a lot of time. Don't think that it only takes a couple of hours either, and after that you can just climb down and spend the night in a hotel. Often it takes a lot of time, sometimes days, to climb a mountain. For many decades, climbers had to look for places to rest even on the most difficult routes. But when you climb the vertical walls, the chances of finding a suitable place to sleep are slim. What can you do in such a situation? Sleep right on a cliff. Of course, using special equipment. Many people believe that the American Royal Robbins was the first climber to use the portaledge in the 60s of the last century. The design features two mounting points installed at the same level and located at a distance of about 2.5 meters from each other. That's not really safe, but you won't have a lot of choice when you hang on a steep rock. Of course, since that time, technology has advanced, and this means not only better cars or iPhones. Modern portaledges look more like hanging tents or shelves on a train. Now they're much more stable too, and often provide protection against wind. Some climbers even plan their route specifically to spend the night on a cliff. It might not be very comfortable, but this will be an experience of a lifetime. Toilet in Antarctica. Okay, so we figured out how people wash themselves in the terrible cold. By the way, better not try to repeat that at home. Most likely your relatives won't appreciate the idea. But what about such a basic convenience like a toilet? And not in the tundra, but right in Antarctica in the middle of a snowy desert. How do the polar explorers who conduct various studies there deal with this issue? Well, in order for scientists to relieve themselves, they put up a special tent in Antarctica. It must be reinforced because the winds on the coldest continent are unforgiving. A storm can easily dismantle a light structure, and when you sit on the toilet, the last thing you want is for your toilet to suddenly fly away. The toilet is not heated either, so sitting on it is not a pleasant experience, but there is hardly a place in Antarctica that can be considered truly comfortable. By the way, there's a zero waste policy in Antarctica as well. If possible, all waste is destroyed or even taken off the continent. Well, if the weather gets too bad and it becomes unbearably cold, then the polar explorers don't use the toilet at all. Instead, they use special bottles. That is why even such a simple action as using the bathroom turns into a serious challenge in Antarctica. So, if you love comfort, then perhaps working in extremely low temperatures is not the best choice for you. So, we figured out how to do stuff when it's cold. So, we suggest leaving our planet for a while. Yes, let's go above and beyond. There's also something to see there. We won't go too far. Let's take a look at the International Space Station. People live here, and every day they have to face difficulties in carrying out their daily routine. Toilet in space. Staying in zero gravity is a real challenge for anyone. That is why only the most physically and psychologically tough candidates are approved for flights to the ISS. And one of the most unexpected though regular tests astronauts have to pass is how to use the toilet. The International Space Station has two toilets, located in the Zvezda and Tranquility modules. They use a fan-driven suction system. Yeah, it sounds scary, but there's literally no other way to make a flushing system in space. In zero gravity, water will not flow through pipes, and it's very expensive to take the required amount of water on board, and it's also implausible from a technical point of view. It's like building a huge pool on the ISS. Instead, liquid waste is sucked in through a special pipe similar to a space vacuum cleaner, and solid waste is discharged into a similar pipe, but bigger and with a toilet seat. To prevent unpleasant odors from spreading throughout the compartment, both pipes are closed immediately after use. Liquid waste is collected in 20-liter containers, and solid waste is taken to separate micro-perforated bags stored in an aluminium box. After that, all the tanks are transferred to the Progress spacecraft for disposal. We wonder how much time it takes for the astronauts to get used to all of this. Washing in space. Taking a shower on the ISS is a dream that may never come true. So, for sanitation purposes, the station personnel wipe themselves with wet towels soaked in water or a disinfectant solution. Doesn't sound that refreshing, but you don't get to choose anyway. When it comes to washing their hair, it turns into a real adventure. For this seemingly simple procedure, you need a small bag of warm water, shampoo, a towel, and a comb. Water is applied to the hair as close to the head as possible and rubbed in manually.
Through to the ends of my hair.
And the shampoo is removed with a towel. Oddly enough, all this really helps to get clean. Of course, the shorter your hair, the easier it is to wash it. However, this is true not only in space. Space laundry. As you have already realized, a rather simple and even boring task on Earth can turn into a real problem in orbit, and this includes doing the laundry. What do most people do when their clothes seem dirty or stained? They simply put it in a washing machine or a basket with dirty laundry and then wash it. Easy. However, the ISS is a different story. There is very little water here, so it's used only for drinking and washing. Moreover, no washing machine could work in zero gravity. The astronauts have to wear the same clothes for several days. For example, they can wear the same shirt for a whole month or use a pair of socks for a week. Of course, they need to be extremely careful and try not to get dirty. In order for the astronauts to sweat less, a certain temperature is maintained in the living compartments. This way, the clothes stay fresh for longer, and when the pile of dirty clothes gets big, it simply leaves the station in one of the transport ships. With their help, astronauts get clean things that are washed on Earth. And now, let's go back to our planet again, but not in the places with extremely low temperatures. This time, we'll see how simple everyday issues are dealt with in the middle of the forest. Brushing your teeth in the forest. Imagine you're in the woods and you didn't take toothpaste with you. Perhaps you didn't want to litter, or maybe you just forgot. Don't worry though, you can easily brush your teeth with powdered charcoal from a fire. It works as a disinfectant that kills bacteria. However, you can only use a very fine powder that won't harm your gums, so you do have to be careful. You can use a split reed or something like that as a brush, or just rub the charcoal in with your finger. Yes, for some time your teeth will be black, but it's easy to clean them with water. Experienced travelers also use peppermint. You need to grind it, add some water, and then rinse your mouth. It's not only refreshing, it's also good for your teeth. Sleeping on a tree. Imagine you are walking through the forest for a long time and suddenly realize that it got very dark. It seems like you have to stay for the night, but how do you do it when there are probably plenty of wild and very hungry animals around? In this case, experts recommend keeping a strong, light rope in your backpack. With it, you can make a simple staircase to climb a tree. This is much simpler than it seems. Just a few loops, plus the ability to find the center of gravity, and you're up. But since you're not a squirrel, in order to not fall from a branch while sleeping, you need to tie yourself to the tree. Washing in the forest. While on a long hike, you always experience a lack of amenities. This is okay though. Hunters and travelers are used to all kinds of hardships. However, even in the wild, they know how to properly wash themselves. To do this, travelers collect large stones near the riverbank and arrange something like a primitive hearth where they put their firewood. As soon as the stones get warm, you can put out the fire. This is done to prevent the release of carbon monoxide. They place a tent with a carved bottom above the stones, and the sauna is ready. And then, after you get warm, you can plunge into the nearest lake and wash away all the dirt. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.